And I am joined, thank you, Regina. And I am joining this session by one of the people in the leadership for women in big data, Regina Carson, and obviously by our speaker today, Jeremiah, who I will introduce in just a few minutes. This is session 2 of the Your Personal Power series. Today's sessions is all about the drama triangle. Before we start on this session, I want to say a couple of words on women in big data. As you know, Women in Big Data was started a few years ago by a group of women that thought of helping women across the globe increase their career potential in technology. Since that time, we have grown to over 17,000 people all over the world and a number of chapters in places like Asia, Europe, North America, and Latin America. Our charter is to help women at every stage of their career, those that are still going to school and are soon to graduate, all the way to people in early career, mid-career, and later career. And we do so by bringing engaging speakers such as Jeremiah today, as well as providing technical training, opportunities for data challenge competitions, and several other opportunities that you can find on our website. Without further ado, I want to introduce a friend and a mentor, Jeremiah Miller. Jeremiah is a leadership coach that resides in Sacramento with his wife and his child, Gable, who you see on the picture. Jeremiah has been a coach for over 12 years, helping companies and individuals grow their careers and break barriers. Jeremiah has been my personal mentor and my coach, and I am proud to invite him to join us in our journey with women in big data. Jeremiah, I will pass the microphone to you.
Thank you. It's not my fault. One of the most dangerous phrases in the English language. But it wasn't my fault that I got a C in world history. The teacher was too hard to understand. It wasn't my fault that I lost the championship match in a college wrestling tournament. The ref thought I did an illegal move, but it wasn't an illegal move, and he acknowledged that later. It wasn't my fault that I lost in the finals, sensing a pattern here, in the mixed martial arts tournament back in 2009. The promoter of the tournament told me it was a 205-pound weight class limit, and my opponent in the finals weighed 270 pounds. It wasn't my fault that I got passed over for a promotion while I was working for VeriSign. My boss promoted her best friend instead of me. It wasn't my fault that I filed for business and personal bankruptcy in 2008. It was my business partner's fault. It was my employee's fault. It was IndyMac Bank's fault, but it wasn't my fault. And actually, if I'm being honest with you, just because it's just you and me here, none of the bad stuff that I've done in my life is my fault, because my dad abandoned me and my mom when I was 3 years old. So all the bad shit that has happened to me or that I've done in my life is actually on him and not on me. It's not my fault. And then in 2009, sitting on the empty floor of our empty house that we were losing in foreclosure, 4,300 square foot custom home, I was suffocating in despair. This wasn't how things were supposed to end up. This wasn't my plan. This wasn't what was supposed to happen to me. Sitting on the floor, I had this epiphany. And my epiphany was, what if, more than all the shit that happened to me, my current situation in my life was largely a result of my own decisions and my own behavior. What would that mean if it was my fault? What would it mean that if, as the leader of my life, I was responsible for bad results? Well, one thing it would mean is that as the leader of my life, I have the power to change it. What if everything is a leadership issue? It's the founding principle of Forging Leaders. Everything is a leadership issue. So welcome to the Women in Big Data series on personal power. This is session number 2. And today we're covering the drama triangle. And this is a series, 3-part series, where I share ideas that empower, that help you make the difficult changes you need to, make hard decisions, and change your behavior so you get better results in your life, at work, and outside of work. So today, the problem that we will address today is a problem that many leaders face. And remember how I define a leader. A leader is someone who needs other people's cooperation for them to be successful. So if you fit that description, if you need other people to cooperate with you for you to be successful, you're a leader. Okay. So we're going to address a problem that many leaders face, including you, which is you have people in your life, at work, outside of work, who come to you to fix, to solve, or to complain about the same sort of problem again and again and again. Maybe it's someone at work, a peer, or an employee on your team, or your boss, who runs into the same problems over and over and over, and they come to you to fix it or to complain about it. Maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your husband, maybe it's a significant person in your life, somebody you care about, and they come to you with the same crap again and again and again. That's the problem we're going to address today. What do you do about it? The answer is an idea called the drama triangle. Now, so I'm going to share this idea with you today and drive some depth through it, explain it, flesh it out, and you'll have a chance for questions at the end. And I want your questions, specific questions. Well, how do I do that with this situation? Or how does that apply to this? Those are great sorts of questions. I want them, so please ask them. I may share some ideas today that you think are stupid or you think are naive. I want you to keep in mind that this format isn't the best format for getting into specific nuance of your exact situation. This format is really good for sharing an idea and fleshing it out a little bit, unpacking it so that you can understand it. But because as a result of the format that we have, which is me speaking to you and kind of teaching, as opposed to us having a one-on-one conversation, which is my typical format in coaching, there will be some nuances lost. So if you, and I won't have time in this to apply this problem, or the framework to every sort of situation or specific instance you might face. So that's where you come in terms of asking questions at the end. So I hope that you do. Okay, and we are going to have 2 breakout groups where you get to answer a question and discuss it with a couple other people. These are opportunities for either it to be a really uncomfortable silence on the phone while nobody speaks up, or it's an opportunity to engage in discussing a question that you maybe haven't had to answer before, and to do it in a really safe place with people you don't know and you may never see again. So I just want to encourage you in the 2 discussion questions, dive in and make sure that everyone has a chance to speak, but also to speak up and share. often the most value you will get out of something like this is often the discussion that happens in these small groups. So I just want to encourage you, because we are about to have our first discussion question. So I'm going to give you the question, and then Regina will break you into breakout groups. You'll, I think, click a button to enter your breakout group, and then you will be in a group with 2 other people, maybe 3 other people, and you're going to have 5 minutes to discuss this thing. So I just encourage you, jump in, spend a minute and a half of that time and give your answer, and then be an active listener for the other folks. Okay, here's the first question for the breakout session before I jump into the drama triangle. And this is really a discussion question designed to give you a chance to vent, because the question is, who do you blame for your problems? Now, I'm not looking for the like empowered ownership answer of, well, nobody, because I'm the leader of my life and I'm the one responsible. Okay, yeah, whatever, bullshit. I get it. That's what I'm teaching. But what I'm looking for here is, in your weak moments, who do you blame in your life? Who do you blame for the trouble you've had? Just give you a chance to, I want you to process that verbally before we dive into the drama triangle proper. So you have about 5 minutes. The question is, when in your weak moments, who do you tend to blame, or who have you blamed in your life for the trouble that you've had in your life, at work or outside of work? Okay, Regina, we're ready for the first breakout session. And I will see everybody in about 5 minutes. All right, we're back. Wonderful. So I was in a breakout room too, so I got to share and listen. I'm curious, who's willing to share? What I'd love to hear from a couple people. Who have you blamed for the troubles that you've had in your life, at work, or outside of work? Is anyone willing to share? You can just unmute and speak if you want to share.
Okay, I'll go first. We just spoke about it in the breakout room too. I tend to blame my parents, primarily my mom, for every setback that I've had at work or in personal life and relationships. And yeah, that's my mother, because I had to live in her shadow with her mental health issues. Growing up was a very difficult time, and it did influence a lot of my behavioral patterns at the moment.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Anyone else? One more share before we dive in.
Yeah, I can go next. So mine is a little different. It's like like when something happens, I blame the other person, like my manager or my friend or someone. But then as the time passes, like usually by the evening or by the next day or sometimes after months, I blame myself. Like, hey, maybe I should have done this thing separately or differently, and this couldn't have happened. So I like always keep, and most of the time I just am convinced that it was my fault. It was never the other person's fault.
Okay. So you got like a reflex reaction to blame. And then once you have a chance to think about it, you take ownership.
Yeah, most of the times, but sometimes, yeah, most of the times I can take some ownership, but sometimes I can't also change someone's behavior.
Right on. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Okay, so here's the idea. I'm going to share this idea, discuss it, and then answer questions about it and clear up anything that's unclear as we go through it. And so I undervalue advice. I think advice is mostly worthless because advice is someone telling you what they would do in your situation, but they aren't you. Their experience, their perspective is different. And as somebody professionally, a leadership coach who you might think offers a lot of advice or values it, I don't. What I value is learning how other people think about a problem. So I undervalue advice, which is telling you what you should do. And I really value learning how other people think about problems or solve problems or make decisions. And then I can draw from that and incorporate it into my own life. So what I'm going to do is share an idea with you. I'm not telling you what to do. This is one of the most powerful ideas I know. Make sure I get this thing centered here. Can you see that? Okay, good. Okay. And this framework describes a common dynamic in relationships. It's called the drama triangle. And what you see is a decent representation of a triangle. And there are 3 points on the triangle because there are 3 roles in the drama triangle. There are 3 roles that get played in relationships. The first role is the victim. Now, the victim is someone who has a problem. Something bad happens to the victim. And that could be like a really bad thing, a tragedy, or that could be just like hey, they said something rude and it hurt my feelings, or I got passed up for promotion, or I didn't win the finals of the MMA tournament. So a victim is someone who has a problem And what they tend to do is the victim will blame the second role. The victim has a problem and they blame a villain for their problem. Now, the thing to know about the villain is just something else or someone else who the victim sees as the cause of or the source of the problem. The villain could be a person, right? I could blame my problem on my wife, for example, or an employee. The villain could be not a person. It could be the economy. I can't get a job because the economy is so bad. So again, I can't get a job. I'm a victim because of the economy. The villain could be your genetics. Like, I can't get in shape because it's not in my genes. So I'm giving you different examples because I want to round out your understanding of the victim and the villain. The victim is just somebody who has a problem, and the key is they blame it on someone or something outside of themselves. Okay, so the victim blames their problem on the villain, and they look to the hero, which is the third role. The victim looks to the hero to rescue them or save them. Victim has a problem, they blame it on the villain, and they look to someone else, the hero, to rescue them. Now let me define rescue. Rescue can mean actually fix their problem. So the victim might go to the hero and fix my problem for me, save me. Or it could be going to the hero, like, tell me what to do. What should I do? What do you think I should do? Why does this keep happening to me? And so they actually could be looking for advice. They also could just be looking for commiseration. Can you believe this happened to me? How dare they do that? And then the hero's like, yeah, man, I can't believe they did that to you again and again and again. That's just horrible. How dare they treat you that way? So there's commiseration that they're looking for. And then there's also just support and sympathy. Like, oh, you poor thing. You don't deserve that sort of treatment. Okay? Hero, victim, villain. What happens here, so before we move on, we all play the victim from time to time in our life. Okay? We are not one of these roles. We play all of these roles at times. We were just talking about who do we blame, right? So there are times where we see ourselves as a victim, and my boss doesn't appreciate me, and they're the reason I'm not getting a promotion, or the people that we blame, my mom, my dad, my brother. So we all play the victim from time to time. Many of my clients, and I suspect many of you, play the hero on a regular basis. So we all play the hero from time to time. People come to you to ask to have you help them to fix the problem, solve the situation, or in some way, like, complain to you and come, cry on your shoulder. So many of my clients, they have the hero problem. What do you do about this? Like, how do you effectively empower people? This is what this is called. Let me finish the cycle. So what the hero does is the hero rescues. So the hero, because they're the hero, they will step in and actually either fix the problem. Let me handle it for you. They will just do it for them. So I'll clean up their mess. I will tell them what they need to do. Listen, what you really need to do is this, this, and this. And the hero will commiserate with them. You don't deserve it. That's horrible. You poor thing. So these are all ways we rescue, right? And here's what happens over time with this. What is the hero communicating to the victim when they step in and rescue? What is the hero communicating to the victim when they step in and rescue? Feel free to type your answer into chat. Feel free to quickly unmute yourself and give your answer. But what do you think the hero is communicating to the victim by rescuing them repeatedly? Rescuing them repeatedly. What do you think? That they're helpless, right? That they're a victim? Good. Other ideas? What is the hero communicating? Right? You're communicating that you're not capable. You can't do it. You can't be creative and solve the problem. Yeah, you don't have to build this skill. Let me fix it for you. So what the hero communicates to the victim through repeated rescuing, because this is a cycle. This doesn't just happen once, does it? Well, if it just happened once, that's not the problem we're here to discuss. What we're here to discuss is the cycle. What the hero is communicating to the victim is you can't do it. You're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. You're not capable enough to solve this for yourself. Because I'm solving it for you. Because if you were capable or strong enough or smart enough, I wouldn't solve it for you. But I am solving it for you. So here's what happens. This cycle, every time, this is a predictable outcome. You see this with your children. You see this with many people in your life. Here's what happens. The cycle builds resentment. What does the hero resent? Oh, why do I got to do this for them all the time? Can't they take care of their own business? Can't they clean up their own messes? Can't they solve their own problems? Why are they constantly coming to me to solve the problem? This is like the martyr, complex, that sort of thing. The victim resents the hero over time because they feel that the hero is trying to control them and tell them what to do, and the hero doesn't respect their opinion or their ability to solve their own problems. So this is what happens every time, over time, is resentment builds. And as resentment builds, what's going to take place at some point is the victim is going to start blaming the hero for their problems. And the hero becomes the new villain. So it's the child who is resentful of their mom and dad for all that they're trying to do to save them and fix them and keep them safe and not let them grow. And eventually the kid blames all their problems on their parents. And the victim now looks for another hero to complain about or save them from their new villain. So this is the cycle. This is the drama triangle cycle. It is very predictable. If certain things are happening or are present in a dynamic, in a relationship, you can bet this outcome is on its way. It's in progress. It may take a while to develop. It's going to happen. So I see this all the time in the workplace because leaders will complain about their employees. They'll say things like, oh, I feel like I want my team to succeed more than they do. Or I wish my team would take initiative and solve their own problems. I wish my team would be innovative and creative problem solvers. They say these sorts of things about their team when this dynamic is happening. Okay, what drives the dynamic? What is the driver of this dynamic? Take a moment and pop into chat. What do you think is the fuel that feeds this cycle in our lives? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts on that. Learn patterns since childhood. Okay. Lack of clarity on boundaries. Good. What else you got? Give me another 10 seconds. Narcissism. stories we tell ourselves, fear of taking responsibility and failure, caught off guard with an unusual problem. Okay, good. These are all symptoms of the cause. And then there was one direct hit. Here is what drives this dynamic. It's at the root cause of this dynamic. Fear. Fear fuels this dynamic. The victim is scared to death of taking ownership for their own problem. Maybe it was a learned behavior. Maybe their whole life they've been taught that it's not their fault. Maybe they're so scared of what they would have to do to make a change if they took ownership for the problem. They might have to leave a bad relationship. They might have to quit a job and they're scared of what they would do. They're scared of what would happen if it was on them. And this isn't always a conscious thing. It's not like they're thinking about this like, well, my fear of ownership is so powerful and I'm going to continue to blame someone else for my problems. No, this is like subconscious. This is at work, very deep. So that's what the victim's afraid of, is fear of failure, fear of how it would look if I did take ownership, because now it's like, uh-oh, it's on me. Well, that's scary, both because of how it looks to fail and to not be seen as worthy and to all that stuff, but also the fear of now I have to do something about it if I own it. And that's scary. What would I do? How would I change it? I don't know. I'm not strong enough to do that. Okay, so fear drives the victim. Fear drives the hero. Hero is afraid of a handful of things. Number one, what's going to happen if I don't save them? This is a super common dynamic in parents and children. I've seen this especially. This is what drives parents' enablement of their addict children, kids who get addicted to drugs or whatever. There is such a gripping fear. I've had a dad tell me before, well, I'm not going to have my son living under a bridge. And so they continue to support the habit. So it's fear of what would happen if I don't rescue. It's fear of how does it look if I don't rescue? I'm the boss, right? If one of my team members fails and I'm not there to pick up the pieces or clean up the mess or put out the fire, how does that look on me? I don't want the rest of the organization to think I'm a failure, right? So fear of how it looks, fear of not being needed. I can't tell you how many times this has come up. Well, but if all my team knows how to solve all their own problems, like what do I do? People are mistaken in believing that a leader's job is to solve problems and put out fires and remove obstacles. It's not your job. Your job as a leader is to encourage and get your people to the very edge of their comfort zone, put them in a position where they could fail, but it's on them, and then either kick them over the edge of their comfort zone or encourage them to step over themselves. If your job is to develop people as a leader, that's what you do. It's not make it safe and comfortable. No growth happens. So what else is the hero afraid of? Let's see. Did I miss anything? Probably. But those are the primary driving fears. I don't want my team to fail because of how that looks on me. I don't want the consequences of my team failing. I don't want to see this person injured because they're failing. This mistaken belief that we can somehow like rescue, like supplant wisdom with rescuing. Wisdom is knowledge that we gain through personal experience. Okay, knowledge we can learn. You can learn knowledge from me, right? I'm sharing an idea. This is knowledge. You can read a book and learn knowledge. You can listen to a podcast. Knowledge is learned from other people, authors, speakers, friends, whoever. Wisdom is what we learn by going through experiences, and primarily painful, shitty, sucky experiences, and we come through it, and now we've got wisdom of having gone through that. When you rescue people, you're robbing them of wisdom. But we're afraid of what would happen if we don't. Okay. There's another name for this thing. So it's called the drama triangle. It's also called the fear triangle. It's also a framework for, let me write it here. It's enablement versus empowerment. Enabling is removing negative consequences of people's decisions. So they make a bad decision, they're too afraid to have a conversation, they don't know how to set boundaries, and as a result, there should be a negative consequence there that they can then learn, experience, gain wisdom, and learn from. But because you enable, you remove the negative consequence, and so they don't learn it, right? So that's what enablement is. Empowerment is giving someone power, is actually like helping somebody become more powerful in their own life. So this is enablement versus empowerment. Enablement is this. This cycle enables bad behavior. This is your toddler goes around setting fires, and you put out every fire they set, and you're still doing it when they're 25. That's enablement. Empowerment is allowing them to experience. Now, I'm not going to let my 3-year-old set a fire in a house and let it burn. So there's nuance, okay, but bear with me. Empowerment is allowing people to learn from their decisions and their choices and their behavior, and therefore be able to do better in the future. So enablement versus empowerment. Okay, how do you break the cycle? So this cycle is really bad. This cycle causes despair, depression, divorce. I wish there was like more D words that I had, but it causes a lot of bad stuff. And we think we're doing it from love. I had a CEO of a company who's the mom, and 2 sons are vice presidents, and she was total enabler. And I asked her, why do you do it? And she said, well, because I love my son so much. Wrong. And by the end, she like understood and recognized that, yeah, it was fear that was driving her behavior. It wasn't love. So sometimes we allow ourselves to rescue people because we lie to ourselves about that it's good, coming from a good place. I've had people say, well, I'm just too nice. Like, give me some negative feedback you receive. People tell me I'm too nice. Okay, too nice is code for I'm scared of confrontation and I don't set effective boundaries. That's what too nice means. Okay, how do you break it? If you're the victim, if you catch yourself in this role, how do you break it? Really, like the real answer probably is usually you have to hit rock bottom in some way, typically. So it takes the divorce, the health emergency, the losing your job, the losing the relationship with your child. It takes that horrible thing for us to take ownership and change this, typically. So typically for the victim to break the cycle themselves, it takes a really bad thing happening. Occasionally, people can recognize it early, but how often do you know people who are having the conversation we're having today? How often do people talk about this and understand it? Spoiler alert, never. So they don't know. And so this just operates underground, and then something horrible happens, and finally now they can recognize it and change. So typically that's what it takes. Unless you're in an intentional coaching relationship, maybe therapy or counseling, or maybe just like a mentor, someone who can help you recognize this, call you on your bullshit. But usually it takes the rock bottom. Okay. But I'm a little bit less interested in this because this is the typical problem that my clients have. It's not that they're constantly the victim. although they are the victim sometimes, and they recognize it, and that is a problem. But the bigger problem is that they play the hero constantly. At home, they wonder why their husband resents them or their wife resents them and their kids resent them and they don't have close relationships with them, and why there's no loyalty at work and all this stuff, and they don't get it. So how do you break the cycle? If you are the hero, if you're watching this right now and you're like, holy crap, I do that all the time, and that's the problem. Here's how you break it. You have to stop rescuing. So the next time, like, easy, right? Simple, not easy. Here's a mantra. Things are either easy or important, not both. So it's a simple idea to stop rescuing. Is it easy to implement? It's incredibly difficult to implement. Why? Because it's incredibly important. Okay, so how do you stop rescuing? So your son, your employee, your boss, whoever you would typically rescue, they come to you and they do what they normally do. They're like, I've got this. Can you believe this? Can you believe they did that to me? And here's how you solve it. Here's how your answer. First, I want to ask them this question. Hey, do you just want to vent and just get it off your chest? Do you want to blow off some steam and just vent? Or do you want to actually solve this? And I say that it's not rhetorical. I don't say it with expectation of a certain answer. Sometimes we just need to vent. And so sometimes we put ourselves in a bad position as a hero because we step into rescue when they're not even looking for it. And now they resent us because we're trying to tell them what to do, and that wasn't what they needed. So first question, are you looking to vent? Hey, do you just want to vent? Or are you looking to solve this? And they're like, yeah, I just need to vent. I'm like, okay, go for it. Go. Cuss as much as you want. And they vent. And the key is to not solve anything or not give them any advice or anything. When they're done venting, you're like, are you good? They're like, yes. Awesome. Have a great day. Okay. If they say, no, I actually want to solve it, here's the answer. Okay. So what do you want to happen? What's the outcome you want from this situation? That's the question you ask them. And they say, well, I want them to treat me better. I want them to do something. You're going to see. They're going to tell you they want someone else to do something is what they want. And then you say, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase the question. Within the scope of what you can control, what do you want to do about this? And what do you want the outcome to be? They're like, what do you mean? I can't make them do. Yeah, you're right. You can't control them. So take that off the table. How are you contributing to this problem? And what do you want to do to change that? That's what I really want to know. Okay, so there's a whole conversation there. Someone comes to me and is looking for me to answer a question they should know the answer to. You all have this happen. Someone repeatedly comes to you asking you stupid shit that they should already know. Here's the answer. Stop rescuing. Rescuing is giving them the answer, by the way. Here's the answer. What have you already done to solve that? Where'd you already look for the answer? Oh, I didn't look anywhere. I just came to you. Oh, okay. Well, where would you look? Oh, I don't know. And then they have a guess, and you're like, okay, well, go find the answer. And then when you find the answer, come back and tell me what you found. And then if there's any feedback you need, I can offer you a little feedback. Okay. The key to this, the key to stop rescuing, and we'll go to Q&A, is this. Here's the ultimate sin of the hero. The hero takes it off their plate. The hero takes ownership of the problem by giving advice, telling them what to do, commiserating, or solving it for them. That is the sin of the hero. Do not take it off their plate. No matter what you do, they have to own it. I'll straight up tell people, especially in my line of work, people are like, just give me the answer. I I refuse to answer that question for you. Because let me tell you, then you don't own it. If I answer your question, it's my answer. And so you can just ignore it, disregard it. You can try it, but it doesn't work. You blame me. I'm not going to do that. I want you to be strong and empowered. So what do you think you should do? It's awesome. Okay, so that is breaking the cycle. One more thing. Here's the vibe you want to give off as the hero breaking the cycle. People could be shocked that you're not rescuing them because you've rescued them for 30 years. Here's the vibe you want to give off. I trust you. You got this. It's like, you got this. You got this. You're smart enough. Trust your instinct. Trust your gut. Like, that's the vibe you want to give them, is you got this. Not, I don't want to deal with you. Okay, it's empowering. I believe in you. You can do this. That's the vibe. Not, I'm too busy for your bullshit. Or I refuse to rescue you. No, it's you got this. Okay, drama triangle. Question and answer. We got 10 minutes. What can I, where can I go with this for you?
I have a general question. What if a so-called victim refuses to take ownership? I was like, no, I can't, I don't know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Okay, I respect that decision. Good luck with it. Like, let me know when, let me know how I can support you in that. I'm not solving it. I'm not going to take it off your plate. If you are solving the problem and would like some support or feedback, come back to me and let me know specifically how I can help you. Other than that, like, go for it. You got this.
So what if you're in a job? What if this is a job situation? You're the team leader and they're just not, I don't know, they have a technical problem. They keep coming to you for solutions. They don't know what to do. And it's going to be on you. It's going to be on you if it's not delivered on time. No one's going to say, they should learn, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
So maybe encourage them to go find the answer, or you could even point them in the right direction. Have you checked the wiki yet? Have you, like, where have you, I'm telling you, if you ask this question, what have you already done to answer this, or where have you already looked for the answer? And they're like, nowhere. Okay, well, where do you think you should look? They're going to have an answer or not. And if they don't, like, if they truly have no idea where to get started, I'm not opposed to giving them the first step. Like, hey, it's in the wiki, or it's in the handbook, or it's in the whatever. Check it out and let me know what the answer is. But it's got to be on their plate, not your plate.
Yeah.
What else?
What if when the hero asks the victim, why is this happening? And what if the victim really does not know why they're getting treated like this, or what is going on? You know, how do you find the answer to that why?
Yeah, I'll depends on, so here I'll dig for it. Take a guess. I'm not going to hold you to it, but if you had to guess how you're contributing to this, or if you had to guess why this is happening, what would you say? I want to ask, so your job as a leader is not to have the answer. If you're the answer person, you're screwing up, because you're enabling people and you're not building loyalty. You're not adding value as a leader. You're not doing the important things you should as a leader, because you're getting distracted by the little things. Your job is not to have the answers. Your job is to have the questions. So having the simple, powerful questions to help people start to find answers to their own problems is totally cool. So I'd ask a bunch of questions, and they're like totally clueless. Ask them to think about it and come back to you. Give them some time. Why do other people have these sorts of problems? I mean, they can always Google it. The important thing is that they own the answer, not you. So, and then so I'd encourage them to come back with the answer. Yeah, kind of Socratic method. Ask the questions, not giving answers. There are, if there are answers that are appropriate for you to give, remember, I don't want this. If you have to give an answer once, occasionally, go for it. Knock yourself out. If there's a cycle developing, that's a problem and you need to break it. Also, setting clear expectations on your team around how we solve our own problems and where we find our own answers. Give them the clarity they need. Remember, clarity, strategy, accountability. If you're on my team, you're going to know where do we go for certain sorts of questions. And it sure ain't to me. But we have resources, right? This isn't about leaving people high and dry. It's about empowering them to solve their own problem. What else you got?
Jeremiah, is there a situation where the problem is such that is completely new to a sort of work situation that might require a different approach?
Good question.
Because of complexity and novelty.
There's two situations that are appropriate for you to answer the question for them. Maybe three. One is if the relationship isn't important to you. So if you don't care about the person and you're okay with being bogged down with more answers and creating the dynamic, like if you don't care, go for it. Answer questions. You're not adding value. The second would be if the immediate outcome is more important than the relationship. So the first situation is if I don't even care, I'm just going to give them the answer. I'm not worried about their development. The second is if like this answer is so important, if we get it wrong, there's a high cost and that's more important than this learning moment. Sure, answer it. Recognize there's a cost to it. That's the thing. The principle is when you take something off their plate, when you answer it, instead of empower them, encourage them to find their own answer, just recognize there is a cost to that. Sometimes it's worth paying the cost. Most of the time, it's not worth paying the cost. Yeah. In terms of like, this is a new problem and there's complexity and stuff, I would err on the side of giving them creative problem solving opportunity to go find the answer or come up with the answer. And then they can come back to you, like come up with your answer. You draft the first draft, come back and share with me what you came up with. And then I can ask you questions about how you did it and we can go from there.
So Jeremiah, there are a couple of questions in the chat. I'll let you choose because they're both very complex and interesting.
Let me pull this up here.
So there is one about what about company priorities, which I think you already talked about cost versus speed of decision. And I think there is also one about what is it if it's an abuse situation like bullying?
Yeah. So there's an idea that this is a foundational idea and it's not very well understood. So here's the idea. Your value as a professional is directly related to the value of the problems you solve professionally. So if you are a professional and you're solving like relatively inexpensive problems, you're not worth much. If you're a professional and you're solving more impactful, valuable problems, you're worth more in compensation, influence, and impact. So in terms of like company priorities and things like that, the danger is when we get caught up in giving answers and trying to solve these little problems as opposed to empowering people so that we can focus on the valuable, expensive problems. Here's what you do. You lock yourself into and get stuck at a lower level in your career than you'd like because you're focused on the wrong shit. Let me take the second one. What about an abuse situation? Tell them to solve it yourself. They will go to your boss. Like a bullying or problem personalities. I don't know exactly what that is, but if there's like bullying or a conflict going on the team, and someone comes to me with that, the first thing would be, well, have you talked with them about that? How did it go? And they're like, oh no, I haven't talked with them about that. Well, what are your thoughts on talking with them about it? And encourage that. That would be option number one. Option number two is to get both of them in the room and talk through it together. Here's how you do it. 3 steps. Hey, so-and-so and so-and-so, we've got a problem and I need your help to solve it. Step 1. Step 2, here's what I've noticed. And you describe the problem you've noticed. Step 3, help me understand what's going on. So it's the help me understand conversation, one of the most powerful leadership conversations we can have. That's a way also to, and if those things don't resolve it, you can step in and solve it. But again, just recognize the risk, the cost to that is all.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So it's a little past 1 o'clock, Jeremiah. If anyone has another question or anybody wants to check your work, I just pointed everyone to fortuneleaders.com.
Okay, cool.
And also the recording and the blog from the previous session. Are there any other sources that you would like to recommend to people, or any closing comments?
My closing comments. So other resources. I encourage you to identify people whose problem-solving ability and whose perspective on life, find people like that whom you respect. They could be a celebrity, they could be a TED Talk speaker, an author, your mom, like whoever they are. Identify people who you respect their approach and perspective, and learn more about how they see things and solve problems. So that would be my advice on where to go look. Remember, I don't like advice, so I'm encouraging you, I'm sharing an idea, which is identify people whose opinion and perspective you respect, and see if there's anything there that you can learn from them. What was the second question?
So that's actually already, I think that
closing thoughts.
That's exactly it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, closing thoughts. There is no, although victimhood, and let me, there are true victims. Children who are sexually abused, people who are beaten, assaulted, and this isn't about that. This is about the cycle that develops when we blame and all this stuff, right? Okay, so I want to draw the distinction. There is no power in victimhood. And although there's a self-righteousness in victimhood that can come from like feeling, there's a self-righteous feeling that can feel really good. The analogy is punching a wall. Now, dudes are more likely to punch a wall than a woman, but there's a moment it feels so good. And then you're like, what did I just do? So I just encourage, there's so much power and beauty and peace that comes with ownership, both owning your own shit and allowing other people to own theirs.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Thanks to everyone that joined the call today. Please share the word with others. I will be publishing a blog and this recording very soon. And the last thing I wanted to say is we all want to invite you for the next one, where we are closing the series with session number 3, The Lies You Tell Yourself.
Very good.
Jeremiah, will that be in July, you think?
That will be in July.
Excellent. So
yeah, we haven't figured out our date yet, but yeah, that will be.
Not just yet, but we'll publish it with enough time for everyone to join. Thank you once again, Jeremiah. Thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you again very soon.